All right, well, welcome back, everybody, to the Raider Roster Report. This is Raider Sparks coming at you with some preseason Raider football talk. Definitely a busy time for the Raiders right now, scouting all the young talent coming out, looking over the free agencies, and more importantly, trying to find a quarterback. Obviously, there's been some coaching changes as well, but I think right now the priority's got to be our quarterback situation. We have to get that figured out. But anyways, please like, share, subscribe to the video. It started the channel to talk about the Raider roster and to build it up to get to the Super Bowl. And yeah, Super Bowl's coming up in Vegas this coming season. So let's see if we can't map out a plan, I guess, to get us there. Hopefully that's what the Raiders are doing. And the quarterback, obviously, is going to drive that train fully. So we'll see how that process goes. But anyways, please share your comments as well. Really want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on quarterback situation. You know, any draft prospects out there you guys like, kind of where you see the roster at and those types of things. So I think the first thing you have to start with is the money. You have to see where you're at with the salary cap. And the good news is we have the third most available cap space. But the bad news is we have the most dead money. But beyond that, we have 47 players under contract right now. 8 of them are tackles, which I did not realize until I kind of wrote it down. Wow, we have a lot of tackles on our roster. But when you really break down the roster, as at least what I did, I kind of looked at who's on the roster, who I think will make the 53-man. And our offense, I came up with 9 guys, and on defense, I came up with 13 guys. So if you kind of break it down a little bit further, take our dead money and our draft capital. Our draft is like $13.5 million if we draft all 11 players. But even when we don't draft all 11 players, you can kind of predict that, yeah, that $4 million and below down to $1 million price range. Those players of 11, kind of a group are either going to be drafted players or free agent players or whoever we sign, that type of thing. So when you factor all that money in, we have about 17 available spots on the free agency, and you know, we have about 35 million when you do that for 17 spots essentially. So even though the number right now looks like it's really big, but we have so many holes in the roster, it'll go quickly. You know, we have hopefully to re-sign out of that 35 million about 10 of our own guys. The problem is we have 2 quarterbacks we have to sign, as we don't have a starter or a backup, in my opinion. I don't think Garbers is ready for that role yet. So there's a lot of work to do on the roster, and even though right now the money seems like a lot, I think the 17 spots at 35 million, it's not really going to go as far as maybe we think. Although a lot of the players, I hope we resign like 10 of our free agents, and then 17, and then 7. It would be 7 new players after that. So hopefully we have 7 big time free agent targets or free agent signings that we bring back, and obviously the quarterback is going to drive that. And the big quarterback talk, obviously, if we go Rodgers, I'm all for it, because it's our best shot to win the Super Bowl. Just what are we going to mortgage, as far as draft capital this year? And then, yeah, we can get his cap number down quite a bit this year, but, that check becomes available in a year or 3 years or whatever it is down the road. So you're really mortgaging a lot, but, since we started the channel, and hopefully the Raiders want to be in the Super Bowl in their own stadium, he's the best option. And, in my opinion, another option, it's probably a really long shot, but it would sort of be both a future and a long-term prospect. It would be Daniel Jones, out of New York. He's in the prime of his career. He can do it all. He can throw. He had no receivers this year, won a playoff game, but he ran for over 700 yards. So he can do all of those things. He can play in cold weather, same as Rodgers, right? But he's in the prime of his career. Probably make 32 to 35 million. You can get his cap number down this year. It's just, it'll probably cost you 2 first-round picks, one this year, one next, because they'll probably franchise them. And same thing we do with Jacobs. It costs a team to it costs a team 2 first-rounders to sign Jacobs. Assuming we franchise tag, which I'm sure we will. Then yeah, so it'd be a good option. Mac Jones, maybe is the third option, but knows the system and played well as a Pro Bowler under McDaniel. So, and he'd come in like at $4 million, and as long as we don't have to give up too much draft capital, I think that's another realistic and maybe the most realistic option if New England really likes Zappe. So, just something to consider there. But if we went to the draft, to win the Super Bowl, I think the only quarterback that would potentially win us the Super Bowl, just because of his experience and his age, but his health, I don't know if he's going to be ready. It sounds like he won't. I heard reports that maybe he will, is Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker to me is the best quarterback if healthy in this draft. So anyways, what he did in the SEC was incredible. He was a true leader. He turned the program around. He can make all the throws. Maybe his deep ball accuracy isn't the best, but everything else is cool. He can run. He's got prototypical size, great leadership, obviously skills. And so I think if he were healthy, he would be the best quarterback, or be my #1 quarterback anyways. Bryce Young for me is a no because of his size. I just think he's going to get hurt. And Stroud, it doesn't really make off-schedule throws, I don't think, that well. And it's really hard to evaluate him because, let's face it, Ohio State's got an NFL line, and the windows he's throwing to aren't windows that's open garage doors. These guys are wide open, man. It's such a hard evaluation. And so for me, if Hendon Hooker wasn't healthy, and plus, who knows where he's going to go in the draft, could be a really great steal in the second or even the third round. Some people are projecting. I think he's a first rounder, even if he's hurt. But that's just me, because quarterbacks, they play till they're 40 or older. So his age, 25, big deal. But yeah, Will Levis, I'd bet on the arm talent. If Hendon Hooker wasn't available, I would just go for the arm talent and see if I could get the best out of him. If he comes Allen from Buffalo, if I'm a great coach, then that's what he should be. If I'm not a great coach and he fails, and that's on the coaching, and it's on him too, obviously. But the arm talent's definitely there. The size is there. SEC competition. Obviously I forced a lot of throws, but so did Josh Allen at Wyoming. He's got better numbers. He's got the same size. He's got a great arm. So why wouldn't you bet on that? So that would be my first round pick at 7 if we went offense. Obviously, if we get a veteran, we're not going offense. We're going defense, hopefully. And so Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play with a bunch of rookies on offense. So I think we could go defense. And my defensive pick would be Devin Witherspoon. We need a shutdown man-to-man cornerback. He fits the profile of what the Patriots would do, what we drafted, what we signed last year for cornerbacks. Under 6'1" or under 6'2", and feisty, sticky man cover cornerbacks. That's exactly what Devin Witherspoon is. He started out his career, in JUCO, and worked his way on to special teams. Now he's the best cornerback in the NFL draft. So I don't think, over 150 press man snaps. He gave up 1 catch for 1 yard all season. He gave up no touchdowns last year. He gave up like 250 yards all year. Just unbelievable talent. So that's the guy I would draft at number 7. Hopefully we got it Rodgers, and we draft him as a shutdown cornerback. I think it's our biggest need when you look at the roster. The roster is set up strangely, like, we have no #1 outside cornerbacks. Hobbs, hopefully he's inside. Other than that, that's about it, So hopefully we spend money at an outside cornerback, and we bring in a guy like Devin Witherspoon to lock down that position. That's at least what I would do. The second round, defensive end is a big need. We have Max and Chandler. That's about it. We have Malcolm, but I don't even know if he's going to make the team. And, who knows? Any previous Raider I don't think it's really safe unless you're Max Crosby. Even Colton Miller, if you traded him post June 1st, it saves $12 million on the cap. And then Waller, Renfro, those are guys that are being talked about as being traded because, let's face it, 17 spots on the 53-man roster would have to be filled with $35 million, and 2 of those spots are quarterback spots. So it's tricky. You're paying a slot receiver $13 million who's often injured, and you're paying a tight end $12 million who's been injured as well. So that's kind of a challenging situation. Those contracts, we can save money on those if we so chose, but there's so many holes on the roster. It's probably the reason why it's hard to give that up. But anyways, back to the draft. So Devin Witherspoon would be my first choice. We went quarterback. Hendon Hooker, I think, is the best. But we don't know his health. If he were healthy, if they could tell you today, yeah, he'll start the season, he's good to go, that'd be my pick. But if not, I'd just bet on the arm talent and go with Will Levis and go from there. Second round, if we went defense, on edge, I'd go Felix Anabuki. His stats out of Kansas State are impressive. They're just as good as anybody else. He's got the best motor and the best first step in the class. But the thing is, with his stats, he did it all against double teams, sometimes triple teams. His motor's unbelievable. Pair that up with Max Crosby. I don't need a combine to tell me this guy's an awesome football player. He would be my #1 choice at edge. to go with Crosby and Chandler, you know, to learn from. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. Great watch. He's one of those players, if you just watch Kansas State play, your eyes will go right to him on defense, and you will watch him because his motor's hot, and he gets after it. And he gets after it, he gets double teams. So that's it. And the other guy was just more on potential, but I think he's the closest thing to Chris Jones is Gervin Dexter out of Florida. Played him a lot at nose, which is fine. He's big, he's strong. He's like 320, 6'6", 320. Athletic as all heck. He can dunk. He's videos of him dunking and all this stuff, but not great sack stats. But neither did Chris Jones. He only had 8 at Mississippi State, so but he's still young. Both these guys are 21 years old. That I just talked about. Devin's a little older, but Felix and Gervin Dexter are both in their 21. So they're young players, and you know, we need to take some shots at getting a badass D tackle. And I think out of this D tackle class, you know, outside of Carter, to me, it's not a great defensive tackle class, but Gervin Dexter has all the tools you could ever want out of a defensive tackle and a lot of untapped potential because the way they used him in Florida, just the scheme they used, I think he's got way more. I think he can work up and down the line of scrimmage just like Chris Jones does. He's so athletic. He's so strong. I mean, they got the length, everything you would possibly want. The other second-round pick I would do if we went the quarterback route, get him a right tackle, DeJuan Jones, awesome player. I mean, people in that league, that's all they talked about was, you know, not Paris Johnson, it was DeJuan Jones. The coaches were concerned with him. But moreover, the Raiders or the Patriots, what they did winning the Super Bowls was have massive humans at right tackle, you know, Marcus Cannon, Trent Brown. And so it works in their system, and he's a massive dude. He can move. He's got so much length. I mean, I think that's a natural. I've seen some mock drafts with him in the second round to the Raiders. It makes a lot of sense if we were to go that route. But another players I would consider would be receiver as well. If we went with a young quarterback, get him a young receiver, and then obviously went with Hendon Hooker, you look at his teammates. You know, Jalen Hyatt is probably a first rounder, but if you went him in the first and Hendon Hooker in the second, that could work out nice. You know, he's the guy that could take the top off the defense, stretch the field, open things up for Adams. Not that he needs to be opened up, but I mean, it would help him out even more. But what I really like is Cedric Tillman, because I think pairing a tall receiver with Davante Adams, you know, MVS in Green Bay, Matt Collins last year, I think it just works. I'm curious of the speed of Tillman, but he doesn't drop the ball at all. He always like 5 drops in his career. You know, it's impressive physical specimen. If we went with, you know, Will Levis, either of those guys would be great. Also, Kishon Boutte out of LSU. Boutte and Hooker would be a better combination for Vegas probably, but I think Boutte's, he has a chance to be one of the best receivers in the class, I think. Just as good as he can run all the routes, he can do the fly sweeps, jet sweep, all that stuff. Just injuries is his problem. Maybe there's some attitude concerns there I heard, but I don't know anything about that. You know, I can't speak to that. But he's a fantastic player. The thing is, before he got hurt, he was having his breakout sophomore season, which I don't know why, but if you look at receivers with breakout sophomore seasons, it tends to be very good pros. On top of that, the LSU receivers, look who they've produced and put in the NFL lately. I would take a shot in the second round at him to go with my new young receiver, to pair with Davante Adams. I think all 3 of those receivers I just mentioned are some of my favorite receivers in the draft. If we were to go young, obviously I don't want to do that. I want to get Aaron Rodgers or another veteran, Daniel Jones, or even Mac Jones. That is fine. Because those guys would give us a chance to get to the Super Bowl, in which case I'd be looking at all defense early in the draft. Probably most like all of Raider Nation, but there's some guys I really like towards the top of the draft. And there's a lot of other players I like. I just want to talk about a position group just in general. Is our linebacking group. Our linebacking group right now, we have 3 will linebackers. I don't think we have a true middle linebacker. We need one badly. So I don't know about the player. The player is very controversial. Noah Sewell out of Oregon, you know, big linebacker. He's got teach tape on how to play linebacker, but he's got so much tape that's just terrible. So he's a player that, you know, he's projected the 1st round, the 4th round. He could be a player that's a Pro Bowler his rookie season, or he could be not even make the roster. He's such a wide range of outcomes. He needs a great combine because I just think he was out of shape, and he's only 20 years old too. So that's the other thing. But he can do all the middle linebacker stuff. And we have to start using our middle linebacker as a middle linebacker. If we need extra coverage, bring a Sam linebacker in. The Giants did it with Patrick Graham as Sam linebacker instead, and keep the middle linebacker in the middle of the field. Just spy the quarterback, rush the quarterback when it's appropriate, but be able to move up and down the line of scrimmage with your shoulder square and make a hit and end the play. And Noah Sewell can do those things. He's the only linebacker I've really seen to have that tape to be doing that, to go up to the hole, meet the linebacker and end the play, or go to the next, follow him with his shoulder squares and meet him in the next hole and then end the play. He doesn't do it a lot, unfortunately, but he's the one player that I've seen have the ability, has the size and the motor to do it. So I would take a shot at that. He's 20, especially if you're getting him in the 4th round. He's probably going to the 3rd, but that would be a guy. But anyways, I just want to see use our middle linebackers more as middle linebackers. You watch the defense in the NFL, a lot of the time the middle linebacker is always around the play or in the backfield making tackles, making sacks, whatever. And our middle linebacker, you watch a game, like, where the hell's our middle linebacker? Perryman's out there, he does some of it, but we just drop him into coverage too much. So anyway, that's my kind of rant on that. There's other middle linebackers, you know, in the draft. Dorian Williams out of Tulane is pretty good. He was 7th in FBS and solo tackles. I just seemed a little off on his film, but you guys out there, tell me if I'm right or wrong on him, and let me know if I should watch some more about him. I just thought the film was just a little off as far as, you know, watching Noah Sewell and what he's capable of doing, and Dorian Williams, it was just different. The hits weren't quite the same, the power. He's just not as big of a guy, and so it was a little off. And Jack Campbell is big like Noah Sewell, but he didn't really hit like that. Like, Jack Campbell's probably the safest pick, but he, I just don't see. I want to shoot for a higher upside, and I think Noah Sewell just has such a huge ceiling to get to that if we got that out of him, it would be, you know, he could be an all-pro type player. Again, he could be a complete bust too. So that's the problem. But there's some other linebackers like UDFA, possibly that kind of are bigger linebackers, but a little bit of a modern day linebacker, more into coverage. Isaiah Moore at NC State had a good Shrine Bowl. He kind of showed off his talents during the game. So he's a good player. Dax Holyfield was at the Tropical Bowl. He was at Virginia Tech. He had over 100 tackles over a year ago. And then he was will linebacker. He moved to middle linebacker for like the last 4 games. So he's getting a little look by NFL teams like the Bears, Steelers, and Jags. And one other team looked at him met with him at the Tropical Bowl. And then Abraham Marshall, Abraham Beauport, Adam Marshall, sorry. He had over 111 tackles the previous year. I played middle linebacker for him, and then went to will linebacker, had 65 tackles. So he can do the coverage piece. He's a great athlete too. He was at the Tropical Bowl. Now, neither of these guys, I don't think are going to get drafted, but they're worth a look for the Raiders to kind of find that guy. And Jacquez Jones out of Kentucky, he'll probably get drafted. He had a really promising outlook, and then he got hurt last year. He only played 2 games. But for middle linebacker, he can do a lot of the middle linebacker things like Noah Sewell. He's got some thump. He's got the athleticism. I just really want to see how his combine is because he hurt his foot. You know, like I say, he only played 2 games. But he's a bigger size linebacker, which I think we need. So the four UDFA or late round draft picks I mentioned are bigger linebackers in the group that I think could play a good role for us in middle linebacker if we play our linebackers that way. Or if we go modern day, the UDFA guys I kind of mentioned, they can do coverage because they were all will linebackers too at one point. So there's some guys there that I'm just kind of have my eye on anyways. If we went with a will linebacker, which we have 3 of them on the roster right now anyways, our linebacker group is not acceptable, so we need to improve it. Hopefully we spend money in free agency. But yeah, Diane Henley was awesome. You know, he's a fantastic player. So, but I mean, he could be a modern day middle linebacker. I agree with that. He just didn't have the hitting power, or I worry about him kind of getting through the trash a little bit. I like him much better at will, especially using his coverage skills. So just something there. But back on the offense, though, another combine guy that I really want to see, Dante Demas out of Maryland, because I want to find a big receiver to pair with Devontae Adams, obviously. And he was a first-round talent, or thought of as a first-round talent. He suffered a bunch of injuries. But, man, he's got that body. I don't know what his speed is. I just have my eye on him for the combine. So let me know what you guys think about Dante Demas. But if I went like 4th round, like safety is where I kind of target my safety. Jair Brown, I think, is fantastic. He played with Jaquier Brisker. The previous year had 6 picks, like playing mainly free safety, but he can do it all. He went into Brisker's role this year. And if you look at his stats, he outperformed him. He's a heavier safety, which I think we want. We want a guy around that 215 range, which he's close to that. You know, sort of like that Dugar from New England, you know, kind of Swiss Army knife, can do everything. Jair Brown's like that type of player. He's a guy you really want on your team. So if I went all defense, if I could, you know, first 4 rounds, I'd go Witherspoon, I'd go Felix and Duque, I'd go Gervin Dexter, and Jair Brown would be my 4 guys. It would help all levels of the defense. And then if you squeeze Noah Sewell in there, you'd have all levels of the defense. That would be like the perfect defensive, you know, 4 or 5 rounds or whatever of a draft. For me, for my opinion. But there's other, Trey Dean's another one out of Florida that can kind of do it all, as a bigger one. Sidney Brown has probably moved his stock up too high for us, but he's another guy that's really solid as well. So, and then there's a couple other guys I want to talk about at safety or dime linebacker that I think we're looking for. Late round or UDFA would be Jason Taylor, the second out of Oklahoma State. He was first for safeties and FBS and solo tackles, and third in the nation in solo tackles. With 80 solo tackles, 99 total tackles, 6 interceptions. He was at the NFLPA Bowl. He made a great play, a saving touchdown play. Moved him to Senior Bowl, and they played him at linebacker the whole time. Didn't look great at linebacker, but I think in the NFL he has a role. He could play that big safety spot. But he was fantastic at Oklahoma State, even deep safety, wherever. I think, again, he's a 6', 215-pound guy. I really liked his tape. I really liked what I saw from him. Be a great player for the Raiders to have. And then Patrick McMorris out of San Diego State, another guy just like Jason Taylor, can play free safety, and he can play in the box. He can, you know, cover, but he can also play that dime backer role as well. So another guy that kind of keep an eye on. Another bigger safety as well. So just a few guys I kind of like at that safety spot. It seems like, you know, we should get a guy that's a little bit more size, like a Kyle Dugar type of guy that can do a lot of different things. And the 3 guys I just mentioned definitely could do a lot of those different things. And then, you know, in the trenches, let's see here. I wanted to talk about, sorry. Broderick Martin out of Western Kentucky, big nose tackle. He's at the Shrine Bowl. You know, I think he's fantastic. He's like 337 pounds. He's got 84-inch wingspan, can cover ground, can take up blockers. I think there is some first step explosion there for that big of a guy. But the thing I really wanted to highlight is like Jordan Davis last year, there was a snap count. This was knock. This guy had 500 defensive snaps last year at that size. Fantastic. I think the Raiders should definitely target him for a nose tackle. I mean, we have Neil Farrell Jr., and that's really it. Hopefully we bring back Andrew Billings. Last year we carried 3 nose tackles because we had Hankins. So we do have a spot, you know, I think on the roster to bring in a nose tackle, and Broderick Martin would be awesome. And if you haven't checked him out, check him out. He's a good player. And then as far as guards go, like offensively, guys I would want to draft or UDFA, or kind of guys that are getting slept on, I think. Jovan Gwynn out of South Carolina. If you didn't watch him at the Senior Bowl, when he was on the field, he was the best lineman, period, hands down. He played left guard or right guard. It didn't matter. He was the best lineman out there. And he's the perfect size for the Raiders or the Patriot way. You know, under 6'3" or under 6'4", in that 3 to 310-pound range. Stocky build, strong, athletic. Yeah, he's the perfect fit. Like Dylan Parham was last year, or Cole Strange would have been if the Patriots didn't take him in the first round. Yeah, Jovan Gwynn, he's not getting talked about. But go watch the Senior Bowl. When he was in the game, they ran a play at the goal line and ran right behind him. It was a walk-in touchdown. He blew the dude off the line. And, yeah, he's being slept on. He was at the NFLPA Bowl, just like Jason Taylor. He got brought up. And the other guy is John Gaines, fantastic at UCLA. Wasn't recruited at all. He was going to go to Princeton, so he's super smart. You see it when he plays. He got great footwork. He can, you know, pass off guys. He could play all 5 positions. At the Shrine Bowl, he played left guard and center. Most of the season last year, he played right guard. But UCLA had a fantastic offensive line last year. Charbonnet was great, you know, but he had a good line in front of him, and a big part of it was John Gaines. If you read anything about the Shrine Bowl, it was always his D tackle had a great day. Nobody could stop him except for John Gaines. You know, it was like that the whole time. The game, he was fantastic. So, and then Brendan Daniels is a guy out of Utah that I think is mislabeled. I haven't labeled on the mock drafts as a tackle. I think he's a guard. Another one, he's the right. Jovan Gwynn, John Gaines, and Brendan Daniels are all the perfect size Patriot linemen, and so they're all the same. They can play different positions. So those three guys I think are my top targets for later round guards for the Raiders. But Brendan Daniels, he's listed as a tackle, but I think he's more of a guard. So anyways, and then McClendon Curtis is listed as a guard. I think he did great at tackle, at right tackle at Senior Bowl. And Chattanooga is producing a lot of talent on the offensive line, Cole Strange, but there's also other guys in the draft this year. So if we were looking for that swing tackle or even a starting right tackle come in and compete, McClendon Curtis, I think, would be a good option for the Raiders. We want to wait a little later in the draft. He's a big human too, you know. He's like 325 pounds, like a really big guy. So it's really what the Raiders want. That's why we drafted Thayer Mumford, is because of that. But anyways, the Patriots system with their offense, I won't go into it, but it's very scientific. If they stick to their plan on the type of player they want for each position, it always works. When they deviate, or if the guy doesn't do a pro day or a combine, then it fails every time. Now, Isaiah Wynn is another one you can look at too. They tried him at tackle, didn't go so well. He's hurt a lot. He profiles a guard. He matched the whole guard. He didn't do a pro day though, but look for him to be brought in as a guard, as a matter of fact, for the Raiders. So we'll see how that goes. But just a few guys I wanted to highlight, some guys I think are getting slept on in the trenches. Those are 5 guys I really like. But if we brought in a Sam linebacker, I like Yasir Abdullah out of Louisville. Terrible tape to watch, you know, not good, but 9 sacks. He's got a speed rush around the edge, but in coverage, he's really good. He can guard anybody. He's 235 pounds, but can guard receivers. He had a less than 50 QBR rating against when targeted. And so he's a guy that if we wanted to play the middle linebacker like we should, he's a guy we could bring in to have that extra coverage guy, but still have some rush ability as well. He's not good against the run, but he's a good special teamer as well. If you watch the Shrine game, his name got called on a couple tackles during special teams as well. So this guy I wanted to highlight, somebody I kind of liked. And so, but anyways, another guy I really wanted to get to was Taylor Grimes, UIW. He is the next, UIW is University Incarnate Word, I think. I have no idea. I had no idea about this dude until the NFLPA Bowl, and he was open the entire game. Nobody could guard him, and unfortunately they didn't have a quarterback to throw it to him, but he's had over 1,200 yards 2 years ago, 1,400 yards last year, over 80 receptions, 15 touchdowns each of the last 2 years. Nobody can go. He's Edelman, he's Amendola, he's Wes Welker, he's Renfro, except every time he catches the ball, he's getting concussed. He's got a pretty good build on him, you know, and I'm telling you, Taylor Grimes, look for this name in the draft or UDFA. If we want a slot guy, if we do something with Renfro, this could be the guy to bring in. So Taylor Grimes, remember the name. Go watch his film. It's fantastic. So yeah, and that's about it. I mean, Habuka Baldonado out of Pitt, another guy that I really liked. Liked his film at Pitt, and he dominated the Shrine Bowl. He looked like a man amongst boys out there. So just some players I kind of wanted to highlight for the Raiders in the upcoming, you know, so many needs out there. Just wanted to highlight some areas that we can get early in the draft or maybe later in the draft. There's so many cornerbacks in this draft. I'm not even going to go through it. I'll do a whole episode on cornerbacks, guys I like. But for me to say, too, that this is a very deep cornerback class, and then my 7th pick, my favorite pick, it was Witherspoon, says a lot about him as a player because, yeah, we could wait and get a cornerback, starting cornerback in other rounds, but he's so good. He's so perfect for us that I would still take him at 7, even though the rest of the draft is so deep. Offensive line is very deep, I think, especially in the interior. There's some players that fit the profile that we would want. I forgot to mention, too, if we go a little heavier than at guard than normal, Chandler Zavala is a beast, man. This guy, he came off of back surgery last year. He gave 800 snaps, gave up a half a sack, and this is a stat I just want to get out there. It's 31 pancake blocks. That's over 2.5 pancakes a game. Sign me up for that, dude. He dominated the Shrine Bowl. He didn't play in the game. He got hurt or something, but his medical is going to be very important because he had back surgery, and his agility. If his agility drills are good, if he's fully back to healthy, because there's some stuff on tape that didn't look right as far as agility and things like that, but it could have been from the surgery coming off of it. But I mean, he's a mauler. He's under 6'4", which is what you'd be looking for, but he's like 330 pounds. And he's potentially the best guard in the draft. I mean, he is a stud. So anyways, but let me know your thoughts, comments. We're about a half hour in right now. So let me know how it goes. Thanks for joining the Raider roster report. And until next time, we'll see what happens with our quarterback situation. Have a good one.